Hello and welcome into this week's NASCAR Gander Outdoors Truck Series Rewind show right here on Racing News Now. As always, I'm your host, Garth Allen. Thank you once again for joining me today. If this is your first time catching a Racing News Now video, consider going down below to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss a thing going forward from RNN. On today's Trucks Rewind, we're looking back at Sunday's 7th Annual Chevy Silverado 250. 64 laps, 157 miles around the 2.459 mile road course, Canadian Tire Motorsports Park in Bowmanville, Ontario. And as usual, this was one of the better races of the season thus far for the trucks. We had lots of stuff going on throughout the day, lots of drama, like Todd Gilliland running for the lead, well, not necessarily running for the lead at that point, but second, third, somewhere up in there. Ends up wrecking from second or third. Then ends up fighting his way back. Would have had a decent finish. Then some things happened again at the end for him. So lots of drama, not only for Todd Gilliland, but throughout the field in this race. There was so much happening. Didn't necessarily have the last corner drama that we usually have in this race. It's crazy how so many times this race has had something really weird happen in the last corner. We did, though, have some drama in the last corner in the middle of the race between ThorSport teammates, which we will get to momentarily. Only 3 caution flags in this race for a total of 9 laps. Only 1 caution for an incident, of course, 2 of those being the stage breaks. Stage 1 concluded at lap 20 with Brett Moffitt taking the Stage 1 win. Only caution for an incident came at lap 31 as the 33 of Dan Corcoran wrecks in turn 4. And then Stage 2 concludes at lap number 40 with Ross Chastain taking the Stage 2 victory. 6 lead changes in this race among 5 drivers. Brett Moffitt led the most laps at 44. He was the only driver in double digits in this race with laps led. 9 laps went to Ben Rhodes, 9 laps also went to Ross Chastain, and 1 lap apiece went to Austin Hill and Stuart Friesen. Alright, so let's get on to your results. Brett Moffitt won the first stage and led the most laps. Ross Chastain won the second stage. Both had very fast trucks in this race. Both are really kind of setting themselves up as the 2 championship favorites this season. I really believe it's going to be these 2. It's going to come down to these 2 at Homestead. Obviously, we'll have 4 drivers in contention at Homestead under the current system. But I think the championship is really going to come down to the 24 and the 45. So, that being said, this came down kind of to a battle between those 2 in terms of who was fastest throughout the day. Would one of them be able to win this race? Remember, Brett Moffitt is already locked into the next round with his win at the last race in Bristol. Would he make it 2 for 2 so far in the playoffs, or would Ross Chastain lock his way into the next round, or would it be somebody else completely? Would one of these road race aces from Canada, like Alex Tagliani or Gary Klutt or Rafael Lessard, would one of them sneak in and spoil the show for the playoff guys? No, they wouldn't. Brett Moffitt makes it 2 in a row, taking the victory in Mosport, an absolutely dominating performance. Only 20 laps in this race that he did not lead. Very, very strong 24 truck in this race. I don't think whenever Moffitt was out front, there was nobody that really could touch him in this race. He was just that fast. I think, had the Todd Gilliland incident not happened, that he maybe could have run with Brett Moffitt. Early on, he seemed to have comparable speed to Moffitt, and then he had all of the incidents that he had. Remember, Todd Gilliland almost won this race last year until he had that scuffle in the last corner with his teammate Noah Gragson. So we know Gilliland is fast at this track, and I think he could have run with Moffitt had all of his incidents not happened. And you notice, now that we've got the top 10 flashed up here, Gilliland is not even in the top 10. So he had more issues near the end of the race that caused him to not get the good finish that he probably does. I mean, even after getting in his incident early, getting all the damage repaired, he was back running in the top 5 at one point. So the truck still had speed in it, and he was still fairly competitive. Unfortunately, that wouldn't be the only incident he would have on the day. Alex Tagliani did come home with a strong second-place finish in this race in that 51 truck for Kyle Busch Motorsports. Ben Rhodes with a strong third, Sheldon Creed in fourth, and Austin Hill rounds out the top 5. Rest of your top 10, Johnny Sauter, Stuart Friesen, Ross Chastain, Tyler Ankrum, and Rafael Lessard in the 54 for DGR Crosley this week. 11th through 20th, Matt Crafton down here in the 11th position. I feel like you're going to have to do better than that if you want to advance in the playoffs. He's still in the top 6 leaving this race, which the top 6 do advance to the next round, as we'll see when we get to the playoff grid, but it's not by much. Then you've got Grant Enfinger down here in 13th, your regular season champion. He was running better than this. And we mentioned an issue between ThorSport teammates. That came between Grant Enfinger and Johnny Sauter in the middle of the race, where Johnny Sauter, I don't want to say dumped Grant Enfinger in the last corner, but that's kind of what it looked like. And it was very weird because you wouldn't expect to see that from teammates. And especially in the middle of the race. Maybe at the end of the race, you might kind of expect that. But it was in the middle of the race. As far as I could tell, nothing had really happened between them prior to that. I don't really know what the deal with that was. It didn't look like an accident to me, to be completely honest. It looked fairly intentional, and maybe it wasn't. But it looked fairly intentional on Sauter's part, and I don't understand the reasoning on that. And maybe we don't have the full story. Maybe we didn't see some things that had happened before that. I don't know. But it was very strange because you don't normally see that between teammates, especially in the middle of the race. It's just very weird situation. DJ Kennington in the 02 this week, subbing for the suspended Tyler Dipple. Not going to get into that because we don't have the details on that. I know there's been a lot of questions surrounding why exactly what he did to get suspended. We don't have official details on that, so not going to get into that. But DJ Kennington was in the truck this week and came home with a 15th place finish. Todd Gilliland landed down here last truck on the lead lap in the 18th position. Not the day he was looking for, I'm sure. And then final page, 21st through 29th, Harrison Burton down here in the 21st position. Had an engine issue with just a couple laps to go, running in the top 5. Heartbreak for him as he had a really good run going and unfortunately just didn't get to finish it out and ends up in the 21st position. But only 29 trucks in this race this week, which surprises me. I think this is the only race we've had this year that didn't have a full field in the trucks. And it surprises me that it's this race of all races. You would think there'd be a couple more teams come out of the woodwork. I mean, it's not Eldora, but I feel like it's one of those races, especially to Canadian drivers. I feel like it's one that I feel like they would want to be in and try to win. So it surprises me that this, I think, is the first truck race this season we've had without a full field. But that's your results from the Chevy Silverado 250 from Mosport. Working on a Brett Moffitt interview. Not sure if that's going to happen, to be honest. It seems very hard to get interviews with GMS drivers. Not really sure why that is, but if you've noticed, we haven't really had any GMS drivers on here except for when we're at the track. We can talk to Sam Mayer, but that's about it. So not really sure what the deal with that is, but we're trying nonetheless. And but in the meantime, in case we don't get it, we're going to head over to the Media Center and we will see what Brett and his team had to say after this win.
It all starts from the people in the GMS Fab Shop and building us great road course trucks and just great trucks in general. And then, they pass it on to Jerry and our guys back at the shop to assemble it. And, it starts from the ground up. And we unload this weekend and we're fast. We qualify well. And we make great adjustments during second practice there. We didn't get a lot of laps in first practice, but second practice made really strong adjustments to get the truck driving how I needed it to. And the biggest thing is we had a plan from Monday or Tuesday this week of what to do, and we had a truck capable of executing the speed it needed to go with that plan, and we stuck to it. And our goal was to win stage 1 for that playoff point, and try to win the race for those 5 playoff points. And we executed it to 100%, and that's all we can ask for, and just stay firing on all cylinders like that.
All right, so if we do get that Brett Moffitt interview lined up, it will be linked down below in the description if it has happened already. If it's not, make sure you're subscribed and you got that bell turned on for notifications. That way you will know when that Brett Moffitt interview comes out if it happens. So let's look at the playoff grid following this race. 2 races into the first round of the 2019 truck playoffs. 1 race remaining at Vegas in a couple of weeks. And that will shrink the playoff field down to 6 drivers. And obviously nobody else has locked their way into the next round since Brett Moffitt has now won both races so far in this round. Ross Chastain, though, I feel like is pretty good on points at this point. He's 28 points to the good now over Johnny Sauter, who currently sits in 7th. I feel like it's going to take some major bad luck on Chastain's part to fall out at Vegas. Definitely possible. 28 points is definitely possible, but not very likely. I think Chastain is pretty safe going into Vegas. The rest of these guys, though, not safe whatsoever. You got Stuart Friesen here in 3rd, and he's only 6 points up on Johnny Sauter. It is very tight all the way from 3rd to 7th. And then Tyler Ankrum down here, he's only 14 points back of Grant Enfinger there in 6th. It is very possible Tyler Ankrum can get into the next round. A little tougher than it is for Johnny Sauter to get in, who's only 2 points out. But it is still very possible for Tyler Ankrum to get into the next round, especially if he can go out and win at Vegas. Which is a track that is fairly similar to Kentucky, where he got his 1 win at thus far. So, not out of the realm of possibility for Tyler Ankrum to get into the next round. He's definitely not out of it yet. Johnny Sauter is definitely not out of it, but it surprises me a little bit, but it doesn't surprise me at the same time that Johnny Sauter currently sits outside the playoffs. If you remember, heading into this round, I predicted that Johnny Sauter and Matt Crafton would be the 2 drivers that would not make it to the next round. Matt Crafton currently sitting in a good spot there in 4th, but he's only 5 points to the good. So he's definitely not safe either. But Johnny Sauter, while it is Johnny Sauter, and it does somewhat surprise me that he is sitting outside the top 6 with 1 race remaining in the first round of the playoffs, it also doesn't surprise me either just with how that team has been performing lately. They've been performing decent, but I don't see that team being race win capable, and I think that's what you've got to be right now in the playoffs. If you're not race win capable, you're definitely not going to make it. Grant Enfinger also worries me on that front. He's been very consistent this year, obviously, since he won the regular season championship, but I don't see that team as being a race win capable team right now. Honestly, it feels weird to say this because I don't know that I would have said this any other season, but I feel like the most capable truck right now in that ThorSport stable of winning a race has Ben Rhodes. And I don't think I would have said that in prior seasons because you look at who they have there. They have a 2-time champion in Matt Crafton. They have a past champion in Johnny Sauter. Guys that have won a bunch of races. Grant Enfinger has won a couple of races in his career. You've got guys that are very capable of wins. And Ben Rhodes, while he is a talented driver, has never really been the top guy at ThorSport. Right now, though, and he's not even in the playoffs. That's the weirdest part about this. But I feel like he is the truck that is running the best right now out of those ThorSport trucks. Had a real shot to win at Mosport this week, and I think he was about the only ThorSport truck that I would have considered maybe had a shot at threatening Brett Moffitt, and I don't even know that he had the shot to, but I think he might have had the best shot out of those 4 trucks. So it's a weird spot that ThorSport is in right now. They're running well, but I don't see any of them really being capable of winning races right now. Yes, Johnny Sauter did win that race at Dover earlier this year, but I don't see any of them at the current moment being in a position where they can win a race. You've got too much talent otherwise right now in this playoff field that can win races. Brett Moffitt is proving he is on fire right now. We know what Ross Chastain can do. Stuart Friesen, now that he's won a race, it wouldn't surprise me if he could pop off another one or two here in the playoffs. Austin Hill, all of a sudden, is very capable of winning races now. Tyler Ankrum can get up there and win races. He's been consistently top 5 and top 10 of late. And you've got these ThorSport guys who are running top 5 and top 10, but I feel like they're barely top 5 and top 10. I don't feel like any of them right now, except maybe Ben Rhodes, can really get up there and challenge for a win. I don't know what it is with ThorSport right now, but they've got to figure something out here fairly quickly, because I don't think any of them are going to make it to the Championship 4 at this rate. Obviously, we're going to have at least one of them make it to the round of 6, because there's 3 of them in the playoffs, and you can only eliminate 2 drivers at the end of this round. So obviously, at least one of them makes it to the round of 6. But with how they're running right now, I don't see any of them making it to the Championship 4. But that's your playoff grid following the Chevy Silverado 250 from Mosport, and I believe that'll do it for us on this Trucks Rewind. Had a K&N Rewind go up yesterday for their race on Saturday from Gateway, the crossover race at Gateway. So go check that out if you haven't already. Didn't end up getting an Xfinity Rewind up this weekend, unfortunately. Just did not have the time for it. And this one obviously is a little later than I would have liked it to have been, but got to work with the schedule of the day job, and unfortunately, this is just how it has to be this weekend, unfortunately. But diecast review coming up on Wednesday. Honestly, not sure what that's going to be. Got a couple cars on the way from Lionel. Not sure if they'll make it in time for diecast review on Wednesday. If not, I think I have an idea what I want to do on diecast review on Wednesday, but we will see what actually ends up happening with that. Just not really sure what is going to happen there. But this weekend, though, we will be in DuQuoin with ARCA as usual. So we'll be giving you coverage live from the track at DuQuoin. And then Cup and Xfinity are in action from Darlington this weekend for Throwback Weekends. We got some big stuff coming up for you this weekend. Obviously, rewind shows for all 3 of those. So keep an eye out for all of that. Make sure you are subscribed down below, and you've got that bell rung for notifications so you don't miss a thing going forward from RNN. While you're down there, why don't you hit that big thumbs up button if you liked the video. It is much appreciated when you do. But at that, this has been the NASCAR Gander Outdoors Truck Series Rewind Show. I'm Garth Allen for Racing News Now.